When I select you, you get to introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and tell us your expectation for this meeting. You can do that you should do that in about a minute or two. So I'll select 2 people randomly to do that, and then we proceed from there. So are you ready? I see Chide Isaac. Hello, Chide. Can you introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and tell us your expectation for this meeting?
Oh, wow. I didn't know I'd be put on the spot like this. Hi, everyone. My name is Chide Isaac. What do I do? I am currently an auditor with PwC. That's what I do. Aside that, I do some content writing, voice acting, and the likes. My expectation from this meeting. So I want to learn how to negotiate better. Yes, negotiating not just for payments or financial rewards, but negotiating in your relationships with people and things like that. So I want to learn how to be a better negotiator.
All right, thank you so much, Chide. I really appreciate that. Yeah. One more random selection. Can we have Agwu Kenechukwu? Can you please introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and what are your expectations for this meeting?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kenechukwu Agwu. I'm a legal practitioner and a project officer with the network of university legal aid institutions. I work with nonprofits. I work with nonprofits to see to the reformation of pre-trial detention in Nigeria, and I also do private legal practice. So my expectation for this class is to learn how to negotiate better and to probably improve on other skills that will help in better negotiation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kenechukwu. I really appreciate. As speaker, Bodurinde Oyebade will be taking us on the topic negotiation, a survival kit for business and career. And before we bring him on board, I would just want to tell you a little bit about our speaker. So our guest is the regional business manager at Trend Micro DMCC. He focuses more on cybersecurity and information system solution in Nigeria, West, East, and Central Africa. Bodurinde has acquired over 12 years of experience in the information technology industry. In times past, our guest has been privileged to work with various global IT solution providers. He has previously occupied roles ranging from an account manager, a business development manager, a sales head, and a business director for companies like Computer Warehouse Group, Business Connections Limited, Cisco Systems International, and Oracle Inc. Corporation. As a technical business-oriented IT sales professional, he has solid experience in different solutions, such as connectivity solutions, hardware and infrastructure solutions, sale, data center and cloud solutions sale, software sales, and security information system sales, amongst other technology solutions. Interestingly, our guest holds a bachelor's degree in biochemistry from the Federal University of Technology, Akure, a master's in business administration from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. He's a participant of the leading executive management program in Lagos Business School, IESE Business School, Barcelona, Spain, as well as Kellogg School of Management, Chicago, USA. So I know, and I believe you understand that we have literally a person with a robust experience who will be engaging us on the subject of negotiation. So at this point, I want us to welcome Bodurinde Oyebade. So sir, you can unmute your mic. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We're so thrilled to have you.
Pleased to be on this platform as well. A big thank you to the moderator. Thank you for this platform. Thank you to the organizers of Legal Hackers virtual meetup. This is most welcome. And of course, hope and I anticipate we all have very truthful deliberation and assessment as well. So basically, thank you again for the introduction. I wouldn't want to go through that again. Oyebade Bordering Day is my name. I'm an IT sales professional, and just as the moderator has said, I've been privileged, to work with different arms of information technology. Ranges from the connectivity to the infrastructure to hardware to software. And at the moment, I work pretty much in the cybersecurity information tech space. It's really a big honor and a privilege. I count myself very lucky amongst the very few sales guys who's been able to retain the same vertical over a period of time. I've not done anything pretty much outside public sector, not onto this new leadership role. So my focus has always been around education, government relations, public sector business, oil and gas, and the likes. We'll go straight to the webinar. Can I proceed?
Oh, yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
So I've got 7-point agenda for this virtual meetup session or webinar as well. And I'll keep it as interactive and as short as possible. And I also want to crave everybody's indulgence that this is pretty much my own personal experience, over time. In the course of doing active sales for 12 solid years across different arms of information technology. So the first on the point for me in terms of agenda, the 7 points will be to put a definition to negotiation. The second one is to discuss around skills that we think we all require to have for good negotiation, the skills required for negotiation. The third will be types of negotiations. And the fourth point will be tips that everybody, that I think, even myself, we should continue to do, or people need to adopt to improve their negotiation skills. The fifth will be how you need to prepare. What are the things you need to take into cognizance if you're going in for a negotiation? What are the things you need to know among others? The sixth point on the agenda will be challenges in negotiating in workspace, which I think will be a very interesting topic or subject for almost every one of us on the call, professionals. And the seventh point on my agenda will be question and answer, of course, to be led and directed by the moderator. I'd want to crave your indulgence, moderator, to please prompt me when it is about 5 minutes to the end of my time before we start taking up question and answers, so that I can do a summary of all I would be telling people about. Again, I want to thank everybody for making our time to be a part of this. Big thanks to the organizers of the platform, and then we get started. The first thing would be to put a definition to what negotiation is all about. In layman's term, negotiation is pretty much an interactive communication process that involves you trying to get something from somebody, or someone trying to get something from you as a way. It's usually a type of discussion that you use to settle disputes. You reach compromise, you have agreements in place, you bargain for individual or collective advantage, or you find outcomes that satisfies mutual or various interests. I see negotiation taking place. It takes place at different aspects of our lives. It doesn't matter what you do, be it corporate, be it professional. We all negotiate at different scenarios and events in life. People negotiate at workplace. People negotiate as co-workers, as negotiation between employers and employees as well. Amongst professionals, we have negotiation in terms of contracts, project timelines, compensation, and there is no big sales, or there is no sales cycle that you will complete without going through that phase of the sales stage of negotiation. I think it's quite an important topic for every sales professional, for every individual across every facet of life, and that takes me to the second point on my agenda, which are the skills that I think we all need, to have. What are the skills that I think we all need to have more like an improved, act of negotiation. They're not exactly okay. You don't have they're not casting stones, they're just basic skills that I think allows each party to have or bring their best to the table when you're trying to get your share of whatever you're trying to do. They're usually soft skills, that are applicable to different scenarios and environments in life where we all find ourselves. I think the ultimate and the important thing has to do with outcomes, the anticipated outcomes for each party involved, and what do you stand to benefit? What do you stand to? It's pretty much getting things to have, what is that compromise you need to make? What is the agreement you need to do? And all those things, just to have that self-interest or whatever fulfillment you need to do as an individual. Your understanding of these basic skills, makes you a stronger negotiator eventually. And I've got about 6 bullets under this. And I think the first for me, in terms of skills that I think you need to be a good negotiator, is a good communication skills, right? The second point would be you have to be persuasive, which is more around persuasion. The third point would be the need to planning. I'm going to do some justice to all of these points briefly. The fourth one is the need to always strategize. The fifth point is your confidence. The aura, that confidence. Around your brand, whatever you do. The sixth one, very funny, which I think I will do some justice to as well, has to do with your appearance. And this has to do a lot with, it might be physical, it might be mental, it might be, and the like. So I'll talk about the first one, which is communication. I think people have a different meaning or definition of, communication as well. You want to go with ethics. And for me, communication in simple terms is being able to comprehend or be on the same page with you. I should be able to understand what you are saying. The first thing for the likes of people like me in my field, as salespeople, is you have a brand you represent. You sell personality. You need to buy into me as an individual before you buy my product. Irrespective of whatever I do, the company I work for, I must be sellable. So people buy from people. People sell personality. So when you sell personality, a number of things will sell along with it. You must have a fantastic communication skills. I should be able to see things from your angle. I should be able to comprehend your level of reasoning. It must make sense to me, what you are trying to say to me. I should say things from your point of view. We should be able to have more like a mutual ground and have, a seamless two-way understanding. We don't need to agree, but then we should communicate. So in simple man's term, communication is more around engaging. You must be an active, good listener. I should be able to understand whatever you're saying. That's communication. During communication as well, I think most things that we take for granted is feedback. We make assumptions a lot. You talk and just assume the next person can understand what you're saying. It is pertinent. We always ask for feedbacks. There's a way. It's proper. I do a summary or a repeat of what you have said to me, so I can be sure we're all on the same page, or this is what you mean, or what have you. We need to be clear on outcomes, and that defines communication for me, which I think is a very important thing every good negotiator must have. The second point is persuasion. And what is the definition of persuasion? Persuasion for me is the ability to be able to influence, people, ability to be able to influence, decision. It's a very, very important skills needed for negotiation. Very important. I should be able to justify my position and why it has to be my own product, how it has to be me. I should be able to support my point of view. I should be able to elaborate, or get people to buy into my standpoint or see things from my angle or from my view. I'll do a number of personal experience. I'll be sharing a number of those experiences on this platform. Under persuasion, indulge me to speak around one of the meetings I had the privilege of attending with the state governor. We were to negotiate a business that we've been discussing for, say, 1-2 years. And then it was a great honor to have this man call us. It was just pretty much at the end of, his regime, and he wanted to do something big, like he's committed. And I got to the airport just before he flew into the States. And I saw these very lovely German machines. German machines, I'm sorry for those who are not familiar with, the terms, it's Mercedes-Benz, for those that are into the automobile space and stuff. The man wrote about 4 or 5 good, lovely cars. And I was just waiting for the Toyota, with good AC that would take me to his office with my team and have a very good, discussion and close the deal we've been discussing. And then we got to a point, and I was telling everybody on the call that, he called his executives, and we had a very good deliberation we presented. But ultimately, you should know that when it comes to Naira and Kobo, when people need to take decision, and something about sales is you can meet everybody as you're inroad into an organization. When you start selling, you can start sales from anywhere. You can sell from end users, you can sell from business owners, you can sell from CTOs, you can sell from buyers. But when it comes to taking decision or paying money out, the executives are usually part of this negotiation. You don't close some size of deals without having the MDs there, because they are the ones who would sign the check. So the kind of preparation you need to make when you are going in for for negotiation, when you'll be able to advance your sales to that negotiation stage, it's really, really different from every other sales cycle or stages. It's a lot of preparation should go into it. And then just to go back to my story, so the man was asking us, he asked us then why is Cisco, I was still with Cisco then, why is Cisco this expensive? He has other competitors, he has other service providers that are willing to do this project for him at almost 1/3 of what we are proposing as an organization. And then I allowed him to speak very well. I listened to him, and just when everybody is quiet in the room, I then asked him a question that, Your Excellency, His Excellency, I had the privilege of flying into your state just when you also landed, and I saw the cars that came to pick you up, he took the conversation for me and was telling me, he loves Mercedes-Benz, they are good on the road, they are solid, they are rugged. If he travels from his state to Abuja, he won't even feel anything. And I said, that makes sense. But does he even know if he drives a Kia Picanto or a Suzuki? We also get him to Abuja. And he was like, he started stammering. I said, yes, both vehicles will get you to Abuja. We are using Benz because of the premium or the brand or the value you have on Mercedes-Benz. One, your safety. You know what it means to travel long distance. You know what it means to have a good car, well branded, the ruggedity, the comfort. And I said, well, sometimes you need to pay a little premium, to get that value. So you can't, it's not apple for apple. Yes, do we have solutions that can do what we have come to present to your state? Oh, capital, yes. But then again, Mr. Governor, do you want to start doing these projects in the next 2 years, 3 years? Or do you want to leave the office and everybody will just say, this is a total failure, So that for me is persuasion. And that just sealed the whole deal, It just changed the whole dynamic within the room. And people then start saying, okay, we might pay a little for, the value of the premium. So the ability to be able to influence people, it's a big one, which is persuasion. And it's one of the skills I think every good negotiation must have. The third one is planning. You need to consider the consequences of your actions. You must think long term. You must think implications of your decision before you close or seal the deal. The fourth point is strategize. Great negotiations always have a backup plan. You must go to meetings prepared. You must play out different scenarios. What if it doesn't happen this way? What are my other options? What if scenario? That's my around what if scenario. And the last one is appearance. Very funny, and people downplay it a lot, but trust me, I'm also going to share a personal experience where I've seen this very salient, this point change. So I also had the privilege of being called into a negotiation table with an executive this time around, in a financial, well, government institution, but that works pretty much around tax and all those things, and they called about 4 vendors. We all do almost the same thing, pretty much the same unique value proposition. I mean, did they get the work done? Yes. Why you is the bone of contention. But it's very funny that eventually they chose a brand. Then they chose the technology, which was my former life just before now, Oracle. And just while we were doing the project, we had the privilege of being called into the room again to meet the same executive who wanted to get an update on the status of the project, on how we have gone, just more like a brief. And we got talking, and he just said something very funny, but that stuck to my brain. He said, the guys who presented just before us that day said almost the same thing we said, and they can. He also is convinced that solution can do it, but that he sees them as some hungry people. That if he leaves his money with them, he thinks those people will more after the margin than doing the work. Sometimes it doesn't matter the efforts, the sales, whatever you've done in any account. It is pertinent and very important to always dress and make yourself presentable. People should be able to trust you with, their money, with a project, with what have you. I have a question that I want everybody to just think about, and it's not just, I'm saying this with all due respect. Have we all ever wondered how we have people in our neighborhood that sells insurance? We have brethren in our churches or mosques that does insurance as business, and you would rather prefer to go to a mansard or consolidated insurance or what have you because of the big names. Sometimes, with due respect, it's just the fact you think, will these people be able to pay my money back if there's a challenge, if I need to call on that fund? It's just that little stuff that you must make yourself presentable. Being presentable, you should be able to articulate, we'll get the work done. We're in this for business, there'll be clear margins. But then again, it just speaks around, one of the things that I think is very important is skills, which I think is soft, that you must have. The preparation you will do for negotiation is different from when you're trying to sell. You can sell, you can meet anybody. In my sales life, in my experience, I've had reasons to start. I've had reasons to start sales. I've had reasons to start sales. Meeting somebody outside office. We met at a private lounge. We had a good discussion, but I've never seen anybody who's done negotiation outside office. They will always call you into the office. Because you are not just meeting the people you actually started those sales circle with. You are meeting business owner, you are meeting the CIO, the CTO, the people that will sign the check, those that will hold you accountable. So they check for things that you really don't pay attention to. Those are things that can give you a plus, as an addition. That being said, I'll go to the third point on the agenda, which has to do with the different types of negotiations. Largely, I think there are 2 in this category. It's either you win, you lose, or you win, you win. So we have about 5 types of negotiation. The first for me on the list is distributive negotiation. Okay. The second one is integrative negotiations. The third one is management negotiations. The fourth one is co-worker negotiations. The fifth is vendor negotiations. And the sixth is family negotiations. And of course, I'm going to do some justice, just elaborate a little bit around the 6 points briefly. The first one, which is distributed negotiations, and I'll play some live scenarios so that you can all understand and comprehend, how this works. So it happens usually in scenarios where people have limited resources. Each party is competing to get the best. You go to an environment, you are company A, and there's a company B there, and you think if you don't win the job, if you don't get the contract, company B will get it. So you rather do anything possible to ensure company B doesn't get it, or you reduce whatever company B gets. It's more kind of, there's no compromise. It's either you win or you lose. In that kind of scenario, there are things you need to apply, right? Of course, there are also decisions that informed whatever you need to do. So take for an instance, there's something we call seeding in sales. Sometimes I seed because tomorrow I will come, I need it to germinate and I can grow. Sometimes, if it makes sense to me, I can compromise and get my footprint into that account. I can compromise and get myself into that company. I can compromise and get myself, into that organization, knowing fully well that I've got the required skills, I've got the knowledge, and everything that is needed, to justify the need for rise or put some value on myself. But then again, we all don't have control of how all these things go. So distributive is just one side of it. The next one is integrative negotiations, which is win-win. In this kind of scenario, everybody benefits from the agreement. Everybody, you just come to table, you reach a compromise, and you decide. An example that comes to mind is what also happened not too long in one of my customer engagements with, an account that I had just about 2-3 weeks ago. I went for a negotiation with a customer supposedly who's supposed to buy some product from my company. The man said to us that he had presented his proposal to the bank as at February. The MD that was supposed to, the MD of the bank that should have approved his proposal went on leave for 2 weeks. And then this Corona thing all started, all right? And then they closed the deal then at about 365 naira to $1. And just 2 weeks to get the MD to sign the document and have the contractor start implementation. Changed a number of things. Within 2 weeks, dollar went from that 360 in Nigeria to 440. But, a typical Nigerian or some people might just say, no, I can't do this job. I need to go back and return the appeal. I care less and they need to start the process again. No. A form of negotiation is being integrative around it. The man said to them, he wrote to them to say, as at when you gave me, we sealed and approved this deal that we were supposed to pay, dollar was 365. As of date, dollar is 440. If I do not get paid between today, tomorrow, latest 4 p.m., all right, I will be forced to return the PO or will be forced to come back to roundtable. You know what happened? The MD sent the email from wherever it was there to say, please pay the man immediately. Now, the man then said to them, I'm not asking you to pay me 440. I have some buffers and my profit and all those things in the business. Can we have a review? We meet in the middle. So dollar was 365 when you gave me the job. As of today, it's 440. I don't know what dollar will be in 2 weeks' time. And I need to buy what I need to buy. And I still need to go source for dollars. So if you pay me at 440 today, don't worry. If dollar becomes 500 tomorrow, that's lost to his own company. I mean, that would be benefit to the bank and he will take responsibility. And they came to a mutual agreement, and he got his money paid. So it's a form of negotiation to always put time restrictions, on the value of whatever transaction you're trying to do. I will rush through the rest, which has to do with management, negotiation. This speaks largely to salaries, benefits, reevaluate your employment, your contract terms, and generally just a salary raise. Co-workers negotiation that has to do with solving conflicts in workplace and team effort, team spirit where you work. Vendors negotiation. I think this is very important, especially in my own field. Aside the profits we all make or the margin we all add to business when we are trying to sell, it's also very important. You have very good procurement team. You have officers who are able to negotiate. You can make more money. You can save more money. You can add more value to your company when people are able to negotiate well. So this increases, business outcome, margins on contracts. It boosts professional relationship. I don't know of anybody who would not like a staff that saves money for the company. And the last is family negotiation. This for me is a very funny one. I remember when I was very young, we're a family of 4. So my 2 elder sisters, one of blessed memory, actually gained admission into the university way ahead of. So it left myself and my younger sister at home. And I remember those days when I started practicing my negotiation skills on her. I would have her please wash the plates if she wants to ride, if she wants me to teach her how to ride bicycle in the evening, or she wants to follow me to my friend's house, or I do something for her, she gives me part of the meat on her food, I think it starts from there. People must practice, negotiation. But that's that about it. So the fourth point for me is on the agenda is tips that I think you need to have to improve your negotiation skills.
Sorry, bothering day.
Yeah.
You have like about 3 to 4 minutes.
That's
to
fine.
round up.
Let me just wrap this up.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the tips include one, you need to identify your goal. You need to practice very good rapport. You need to consider imposing time restrictions. You need to consider time restrictions. I think it works, and it's worked really well for me. You have to be confident. You also need to practice these things. You don't grow into it. You need to practice them. What are the things you need to prepare when you're going for a negotiation? Whether you have an upcoming salary negotiation or business review, or you're planning to ask for a raise, or your next performance review just around the corner, or preparation is key, very key. You need to ask yourself some questions. Part of the questions includes, what do you stand to gain? What are those things you are willing to compromise? What are the terms you think you will refuse to accept? What are the potential objections you might face on the way? And then what are the possible outcomes that might happen? With those information above, there's also things like you need to do your research, you need to ask questions, you need to consider your positions. And the last thing for me on that list is you need to define your partner. Your partner is your best alternative to negotiated agreements. And I'll paint a scenario for that. And I think most people find themselves in this part of the event. So I have a side business that I do, that I've got some staff strength. I have a great guy by the name Solomon, who it's like he supports his JDs, just general cleaning, to clean the company as well. This guy resumes as early as 7 o'clock for cleaning, and say 8:30 is done with everything he's doing. And between that 8 o'clock till when the business closes at about 6 o'clock, he's just there doing nothing. So this young man, in his wisdom, which I think I'm very impressed with, which is why I'm sharing this experience, he saw us trying to expand the business, and he approached me to say, Oga, proposed to me to say, well, instead of asking for you to review my salary here, can I please just join? Can I take up the responsibility, or can I take up the task of being the one in the store? And just give me a raise in my salary. Honestly, it made sense to me, because if I were to recruit another person for the new business, I'll be looking at about 30,000 every month. But if I'm paying Solomon today 25K, and he's asked me to please, he can still do the same work, because one, they are all within the same building. Two, it's the same man effort for him. The same time, the same hour is going to stay in the business. Three, it's more value to him. And for me, on the long run, it's saving money. So I see individuals in different organizations that have the capacity to take up more responsibilities, and they're not doing. Sometimes, we need to put value on ourselves. We need to put value on ourselves. We need to put value on ourselves. We need to justify why people feel, we are irreplaceable. Can you accommodate? Can you stretch? Can you do a little bit more? And I think those are some of the things that, when I say things around define your alternative, the partner, can you take up additional tasks and vocational job to increase your own standard of living and the likes? And lastly, on this note, I would just like to share one experience before I round up, moderator, on one personal thing that happened when I was still with Business Connections. And I think this will just be the summary of everything. Because some things you're also not prepared for, but sometimes if you spend some effort in developing yourself, improving yourself, these things don't happen by chance. They will meet you on the way. Also, that was the point that we got a big project with within the aviation, within government space, and that project it's more like it's how do I put it? It's a chunky project. By chunky project, I mean project that has different sides of technology. You know, there's the hardware side, there's the connectivity side, there's the software side, but they just want you to come up with a solution and they want a partner to manage it. All right. So they gave the company. I was working with them. By God's grace, with the help of God, I was very, very strategic. I won the deal. You know. And then my management felt, okay, since I have the connectivity background, but why don't you look for a service provider that can do it? And then I wrote a letter to the MD of another company that does almost the same thing we do, but they do extra because they do connectivity. So they do what we do as a business. On top of that, they now also have what we're looking for. So I reached out to the MD of that company, and I didn't go with anybody. I just sold myself, and I told him, well, I'm here to discuss an opportunity with you. I have a project that we have won already, that is won already. I would want your company to please take up this side of it. No matter who you are, once you hear that, I'm not here. I didn't go there to go look for a job. The man was so excited, and after the good meeting, he now started looking for souvenirs and things, you know, just to say thank you. You know, I took those things and I went back to my own office. So my office is company A here, this other company is company B. And, you know, and immediately I got to my office, I just walked straight into my MD's office to give him an update on the outcome of the meeting I just ended with the other company. And trust me, I was giving my MD the updates like, sir, I met with them, I think they can do it, and blah, blah, blah. He was busy looking at another thing. He was looking at the souvenirs with me. He was looking at, and you know, after my whole update, he just asked me a question. But are those guys talking to you? Do they want to poach you? Because they do what we do, and they even do extra. And I just replied and I said, well, it's nothing to worry about that. Yes, they are talking to me, sir. But I don't think you should worry. But between you and I, they are not talking to me. The next day, you will not believe the HR called me, and I got like a 20% increase. He just said the management starts, that's the hand of God. I'm very spiritual. That's just the place of grace, you know. But just said the management started, and they just felt that they should review the effort for what you have been doing, and blah blah blah. And guys, I just signed the letter. But thank God for the place of grace, right? But one thing is the fact that you also understand what you are doing. You've been able to develop yourself. You have an end-to-end control of your life. So I understand what I was doing. I also understand what I wasn't supposed to do. Imagine if the company has sent somebody else to go and do the negotiation. There won't be any increase for me. But because by God's grace, I took time to understand the connectivity. So it's not just to get a job for the sales guys on this call. When you get a job, you must have an understanding. Take time to read, to understand the job. It puts value on you. You know, it makes you irreplaceable. It makes complaints. You know, and anytime you say you want to leave, you know, it happened again not too long ago. But just to save time, I think that's more like a summary of, you know, what I've got to share. So we can have some good times for question and answers. So I'll pass it up to you, moderator, and then we can take the rest from the other side of it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Bordering Day. This was so insightful. It was eye-opening, and basically, I'm sure that I wasn't the only one who has learned so much from this. Okay, so before we open the questions to the floor, I'd like to state a few things. So, Bordering Day, you said in the example you were giving, the experience you were giving about the meeting with the governor, there was something you stated there that made me think of something else that I want to raise. So you mentioned in the skills, communication, persuasion, planning, being strategic, confidence, and appearance. But based on your experience, I would want to add something. I think observation is also a very important ability to possess, because I feel like the ability to connect his choice for a Mercedes over a Kia was something that we could give to being able to observe your immediate surroundings and establish a nexus between that and the brand or the solution you were willing to share with the government.
Absolutely.
So once again, thank you so much, sir. So now to a question that I want to ask. I think one thing that fascinated me a lot would be the fact that you had an undergraduate degree in a graduate degree in biochemistry. So I would like to ask, what was it like transitioning from that, from your biochemistry degree into what you do now, that sales? What was it like? What did you have to learn, unlearn, drop by the wayside, pick up? What was that experience like for you?
Thank you for that question. I think with that, it has to do with one. I just want to say a number of all these things we really don't have control on. So as a young guy, my plan, my drive, my desire has always been to meet people. I've always been that hard there kind of person, you know. So my parents, especially my wonderful mom, of blessed memory now, wanted a doctor, but you know. But for me, what was key to me was I love to solve people's problems. So I was that inquisitive. I love to mingle. I love to build rapport. I love to connect, and I love to learn.
Yeah.
I started off actually in the banking sector. So one thing I said to my parents when I went to serve, I have a background in banking. So the fundamentals for me, I think you also need to is being able to define yourself and have a chart for your life. So any work that where I would work, honestly, I never had the knowledge. I didn't know. But then one thing is I would want a place to meet people. I'm not the type that wants to stay indoors or solve people's problem back end. No, I want to see your face, you know, because like something you said, I want to see your body language. And as a point that I didn't nail, which maybe I will use this opportunity to nail just before we round up, because there's a particular point, you know, so which is, but just to answer you before I go to that, the first thing for me is, one, yeah, biochemistry is good, but beyond biochemistry, I knew I was going to go straight into MBA. So when I left university, you know, when I think at that point I had the control or the effrontery to tell my parents, guys, don't waste your money again in this. This is what I want to do. I moved straight into business, you know, and from there, IT has always been a drive for me. So sometimes I always tell people it has nothing to do with IT, even if it was anything you sell, be it bottle, be it water, it's just the brand. The only thing you sell is your personality. People must buy into you as an individual before they buy your product. And when you say people buy into you, a number of things, they buy your integrity, they buy your trust, they buy your confidence. You know, they know you want the best for them. They know you are in for solution. You are solution oriented. So naturally, you would do business. So when they say sales is for all of us that are in sales on the call, irrespective of what you sell. Once you have those things, I mean, and your word is your social capital. You know, once you tell people this is what will happen, and you do everything, you know, possible. You don't have control most times. Like 100%, you don't have control, but just ensure you push and ensure you live to those commitments. I think it's really worked for me. It's paid off in my career. But in terms of transitioning, it's just it's divine. But I'm just one of the very few who's doing what I love to do. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you. Another would be, and I believe that while negotiating, you definitely would have encountered some roadblocks or difficulties. So how did you navigate that process?
If you ask me that question from the sales, I will tell you there's been more there's been more losses than the gain. You know, you don't win every contract, you don't win every project, but there's something we do in sales. You need to have times 4 of your targets. How do I put this? So so you have options, you have alternatives, and that speaks to what I said earlier on, that when you are going for negotiation, at the back of your mind, yes, you need to be clear you want to go and win. You need to be clear, I'm going because I want to close the deal. I'm going because I want my salary increased, right? But when you get there, when things don't go the way you anticipate, what are those other options you have? What are those other scenarios? It's like GPS. How am I able to navigate? I say I have in mind where I'm going to, but what are the other routes I can take? And that speaks to what I said around a Solomon guy that worked for me, who's already looking at. I'm sure if I go and meet this man that I should increase my money, he can fire me. But he came to meet me to say, Oga, I still have capacity to take more. You know, with that, and that's how people show value. One, for me, it's not about the money he wants to take. It's like this guy wants to be in this business for a long time. So the better I retain those that are loyal, that believe in my vision, in my dream, the more I invest in them, the more I get the best from them. You know, so those are some of the stuff that, you know, it just speaks to, but on the outside, the focus, the drive is, I've got to win. Is win. But what if you don't win? What do? Then you start looking at other options. You start looking at other scenarios. Take, for instance, you know, you want to go for a job interview, right? Your salary from company A is 100 naira. There is a rule. It might not be applicable to everybody, all right? But I've used it in my own movement. As long as the next one is 30% higher than where I'm coming from, and I'm seeing the growth, I'm seeing one, I'm learning new things, like I'm doing something different from what I'm doing before, what I've been doing. So I'm taking up a new challenge. I'm seeing a company that cares for people, so the benefits I have there, a platform to expand my horizon, to have more coverage, to sell myself more, right? Because you can't keep doing the same thing the same way for a long time and expect the same result. It's madness. So I look at some things before I take a job. But I've also been in scenario, you know, where I speak to people who want to employ, and they are telling you how they want to take 600 naira from 100 naira where they are coming from. We're not in the business of sharing money. It's valid. So sometimes, you know, these things are like win-win. You take your comparative advantage into consideration. What are those things that makes one, and you have to be selfish about it. My life, is it advancing? Am I seeing is there an increase? And the number of things to take into consideration. Maybe you used to work in a company who is situated in Abuja before. Now, I just have 20% increase, but I'm now working in Ikeja and I live in Ojudu. So it makes sense for me to say, I'm not even spending on transport. My work-life balance is okay. I'm no more stressed. You know, some of all these things are things, so we don't make ridiculous requests. And then it can only keep getting better. But importantly, it's not even about the salary. It's developing yourself. The only place I think is possible for anybody to live from 100 to 700 is when you put value on yourself. Even if the company you work for at that time do not appreciate you, I promise you the next person will pay for what this company has invested in you.
Overlooked. Yes. Yes. Okay. Then the last question from me before I open the floor for the participants is, how do you make a customer, a potential customer, see the value over the price?
Okay. In terms of value, and I'll say this.
How do you make the in you is more important than the price that you are going to pay? That over time, the value I'm selling to you would be more valuable to you than the money that you're going to pay for what I'm offering.
Yeah, in terms of value, I must say this to you, that value is relative. And value needs to be put into perspective as well. Okay, if I have, and I cited an instance earlier, you know, I used to work for a company, Cisco, that does what, there are like so many people who manufacture almost the same thing. And I will use the same Mercedes-Benz analogy I painted with the governor we met with, right? So it depends on what the company is looking at. So that's why for me, when I'm negotiating, guys, I don't like to do it over, not considering what is happening now. It's not good. It doesn't work for me to negotiate over phone or over internet. There are a number of things that you need to be looking at. You know, you need to be watching out for body language. You need to be watching out for signs. You need to look out for your positions in the room and the likes. There are people who naturally don't buy into you, and it's not the project. They know you are saying the right thing, right? But the way to be able to carry everybody along and make people feel. So the first thing is even your personality. You can use your persona to add value to what you are selling, and people just feel it has to be you. One, because you sell a number of things along with it. The first thing is, now paint a typical scenario. you have government guys who usually, especially my sector, they don't want to do the projects. They don't want to go for the best most times because they want to put it in budget in the next dispensation or next year. Or I've been in scenarios too where a very, very big partner or an organization got a contract from federal government of Nigeria. They got the value of that project for millions of naira, and these guys want to spend. They got it in close to $1 billion, one lot, and they want to spend just 20 million on that project. So you know they won't do crap. But for me, the angle I looked at it is there are things we can put in place that will last for 10 years. So you need to be very open and you need to see in between the line. If I'm going to price myself out because I want to show value, then I'm also not ready for sales. So it depends on who you are talking to. If you are talking to a bank, it's different from when you are talking to government people. So you need to understand your market as well. If I'm talking to a bank CEO, he wants to do the project today and not talk about it in the next 15 years. They want to spend infrastructure today that they know can grow to accommodate that even if IT, technology, information changes in the next 5-10 years, they are still relevant. They don't need to keep doing it every year. So with those kind of people, you put your best foot forward, you justify this, you give them reason why it has to be this. It might be support, it might be the need to say the features that comes with your own value proposition. Maybe upgrade and some things will be changed for them. You continue to train them on new innovations and all those things. But if you are selling to a government person, if you are telling him you want to do 10 years, he will tell you he doesn't even know if he's going to be alive. So those kind of people, you also need to come down to their level to say, well, okay, I hear you, but I also don't want to sell what will give me and you problem. Nobody wants less to be chasing all about, right? So I will sell this to you. This is what it can do for 5 years, if this is what you say you. So you give them in stages of what they want. This one can go for 10 years. This car can last for 5 years. This car can last for 20 years. You know, so when you do all those things, imagine to a state governor that I said that is using Benz. I'm sure that man bought those Benz. He will go with them, and they will still be useful to him in personal life. Or Kiario, that will still get into Abuja. So sometimes it has to do with people you are dealing with. And once you understand the terrain, the market, the individual, your competitor, you have the advantage of the two, you know, to win the deal or to swing it to your direction. So that's pretty much
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if I could summarize the answer to this question, it would be that your personality is important,
Right.
Understanding your target, the person to whom you're pitching to, understanding the extent to which they expect the value, and basically knowing how to engage them essentially.
Correct.
Okay, so the floor is open to our participants. So firstly, we'll have Roland Ariwayo. You can unmute your mic and ask your question, please. You can do that now. Roland Ariwayo, yeah. Roland, if you can hear me, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
I think it's asked this question on.
Okay,
on
in the
chat,
comment
please.
section.
Yeah.
Okay. So should I read it out to you?
Please go ahead.
Okay, he said, I heard you speak a lot about business goodwill, which means what you want your clients to pay minus the actual worth. That's the intrinsic value. That means companies with good brand tend to take advantage of their goodwill to make more profits. So how do small businesses or new companies in competition with such companies win a project negotiation?
Okay. Thanks so much for that question, Roland. I'll be very realistic. I'll be very open. I've seen both sides of that scenario, you know, where companies with goodwill, of course, leverage the goodwill to win projects to their advantage. I've also seen where such goodwill also becomes a disadvantage to such companies. Right? I think the important thing here has nothing to do with either the new or the big. It has to do with your person. I think the first thing and the biggest investment any potential company, any individual would make has to do with your personality, and this reflects in your vision, your mission, your core values, people that you bring to sell, and a number of things. Like I said, sales is not, there's nothing cast in stone in sales. I've seen different side, I've been part of. I've not done anything outside this for a long time with all sense of modesty, So I understand you don't win every company. I've seen companies from nowhere, use relationship, use understanding of customer, because sometimes the more you understand that customer, the more you are able to meet their business obligations and priorities as well. If I'm a big company and I just feel so comfortable in my skin, and I have a guy who's been able to build, he's invested time, he's done some basic things, research on the company they want to go sell to, identify key decision makers who would not only support them, but they will give them tips on how they will be successful. They'll give them information about the exact need. They will do some due diligence. They will do some investigation. They ask necessary questions, and they're able to provide the right answers, that meet customer obligations and deliver to those terms. Yes, there's a place of goodwill. There's a place of, not knowing so much. But I think one thing that binds everybody together is actually a function of who is representing that company. Even if you represent United States of America in this country or represent any company, you can't get to my office as an individual and say, come out and see me because I'm the son of United States of America. No, it's your personality. So I think the first investment has to do in your person. One, and when you say invest in your person, in your brand, it might be in your people, appearance. It might be in terms of appearance. Well, maybe that might be technical know-how, knowledge of the sector, knowledge of that vertical, knowledge of that customer. That's the most important. Knowledge of that customer. This is what these people are saying. And when they see your intentions, when they see the confidence, when they see your clear intentions to want to be a part of their success stories, business is changing. It's ever changing. People are, it's going beyond the who know who. In fact, it becomes so difficult to do business with those now. Everybody wants people that can be held accountable.
That offering value.
Value. It's just like it's value. It has no two different meanings. It's strictly on value. So it's win-win. But I think my advice would just be for everybody, including myself, to keep building on our knowledge, and our personality, and then we'll keep pushing. Like I said, you don't win everything, but trust me, keep punching the same door. At some point on airport, we hope
to open.
Right.
So essentially, keep putting in the work. You build your reputation as you go. So I hope that answers your question, Roland. Thank you. Temi, you have the floor. Temi Popola, you have the floor.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Yobade. Thank you so much for an enlightening presentation. So I have two questions. Sorry, can you hear me, sir?
Temi, hold on. Let me be sure that he's still on. Oh, he's still on.
Yeah,
he's here.
Okay,
Temi, you can go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so the first question is, talking about negotiating, I find that sometimes there seems to be an unequal bargaining power. It seems as though some people have the upper hand when you're negotiating. So for example, if you want to negotiate with a prospective employer, that person seems to have upper hand. If you want to negotiate with somebody who is giving out a contract, that person seems to have upper hand. So I'd like to know, especially for a lot of young people who are here, some tips on how we can negotiate with people even when they have a bargaining power or the higher bargaining power. The other question I'd like to ask you, sir, is with respect to a network. I was having a discussion with someone some time ago, and I found that I understand that negotiation is quite important, but it seems that a lot of contracts, a lot of things that come out of it, maybe I'll call this personality now, but it seems to be on who you know basis, on that basis of your personal network. And so I'd like to know if you have any tips for us, especially because many people here are young, if there are any tips that we can, apply that will help us to increase our network. So first of all, how we can negotiate with people who have a bargaining power that is higher than ours, and how to also increase our network largely. Thank you so much for your presentation once again.
Thanks, Tamila, for that question. In terms of bargaining power and negotiation, it's always been and it will continue to be. But the ability to be able to change the dynamics or influence or persuade people makes you a boom star. I will say something, and I think a scenario that comes to my mind is pretty much the country Nigeria. There's a lot that goes into politics, into selecting a candidate. The first thing is you must find somebody that is sellable. You must find somebody that is presentable. People negotiate power. You've heard people talk about power rotation must come to this place for this number of times. People feel it must come to this number of times. In the side of the country, they have more population. So even if you don't consider them, if you're not careful, whatever happens in that side of it, will still decide the outcome of the election. All right. That just tells you how people bargain, how people use that to an advantage. But I think one thing that stands everybody out, it still goes back to investing in, and when you use the word invest in personality or in yourself, or being a sellable candidate, or justifying why it has to be you, I think it largely draws on one. We don't need to we don't need to overstate or reemphasize what we said around personality. I think the next thing is people must also build, that self-confidence, that self-confidence. With sincere apologies, I don't know if people are familiar with the word that you can tell people to go to hell and they look forward to the trip. There's a way you talk to people, like you convince them like you are just the ideal person for the job. One, it's not being braggadocious, it's not about making out. You also have to have things inside you. You must be of substance. Well, not the liquid metal, not the man of war, like it's going on social media, not the industry one, but you must have some substance. You must have a very robust knowledge of your environment. You must have a robust knowledge of your customer. You must have a robust knowledge of if you are looking for a job, of the company. I mean, you can't go to a company like a KPMG that you make ask questions. What is the entry level? So you don't put up a fantastic appearance and you price yourself out. Ask benefits. Ask, why do I even want to go there? Do I need it in my CV? If it comes to my CV, can it be a good platform to negotiate onto the next one? Our life is just in stages. We are all not going to remain on the point. But sometimes we all just need to get started. So when you put a number of all these things into, you make research, you do very good justice to your personality, you invest in your person, and it's just about information. I think everything is around information. When you have information that the next person does not have, you use it to your advantage, Take, for instance, the scenario you mentioned, like some people have, and it takes me to the distributive type of negotiation that I did mention earlier on as type of negotiation. The scenario you just put is a type. There are people that have bargaining power. Maybe the MD brought them into that account, or they are relative to the MD's company. So everybody must work with them. They will do the project at their space. They will do it whenever they want. The kind of thing you want to do is, you don't want to go to that environment and be fighting to remove that person. It's a waste of time. You don't go there to start badmouthing the person. It's dead on arrival. The kind of sales you will do in that place, or the negotiation you will do is, can I just get an inroad? Company A is doing A, B, C, D, and I just want to do. They are doing 10 things. I want to do one. So you don't go there to show your strength. You get there, you now start finding how you can build on that footprint. So anytime the first company A, who is now so comfortable in that environment because of their relationship with the MD or the business owner or their tie with, whatever, you just start looking out for the mistakes, they should be on site today. And the whole network is down, and if they're not there, you must fail. You just, and that goes into preparation. So once they're also prepared, that will just be one day that company will be so comfortable in their own sleeves, and they will drop the ball, and you will be the one to save the order of the day. Even their own influencer, their MD, or whatever is their backing, will be to say, we need to have this person as backup, and then both of you start finding a way to. So these things are procedural. You don't get there one night, but it has to do with a knowledge of your environment. You have to have that detailed understanding of, the vertical, the sector, or whatever you want to do. And over time, you can. It's like a stick and carrot approach. I eat more, I get more penetration in that account. I ask more, I get more footprint in that account. They ask if I can do this because this person is dropping the ball. I'm just there immediately. But if the person is dropping the ball and you're also not prepared to shine or to meet up or to fill in the gap, then trust me, that person will come back again, apologize, and it keeps moving. So these are some of the stuff, that I think is pertinent to all have into consideration when we're negotiating.
So Timmy, hope your question has been answered. Thank you so much, Bodorinde, for that. So Timmy, are you okay? Timmy, are you?
Yes,
fine?
thank you very much, Esther. Thank you very much, Mr. Oyebade. Thank you so much.
Thank you, indeed.
Awesome. If Alafe Emmanuel is still online, can you ask your question now? If Alafe Emmanuel is still online. Okay, before Emmanuel asks his question, if Joseph Adetubero, I don't know if I got the pronunciation right. If you're online, you can quickly make your contribution before we move on to the next question. Joseph, if you're online, please make your contribution to Temi's question.
I think Alafe asked his question already. In case you want to read it out.
Okay. Alafe.
Okay.
No. What else? Okay, Joseph, go ahead, please.
Okay, yes. Temi pointed out something going into a negotiation with someone you believe has the upper hand. Yes. First, I want to state that believing that person has the upper hand comes from your own thoughts about the person. It comes from your own personality or belief the person has an upper hand. When you are going into a negotiation, it is fair and it is very important you have a priority of what you want to come out with that negotiation. When you know, and by the time you list out those priorities, you state what you would not want to, you state what is the minimum that you can accept from that negotiation. It's not bad to lose a negotiation, but trust me, what you look out for is where you win on the minimum of what you want, and you can allow the person win as well. Also, my advice is that you identify those areas you believe, because first is your belief that person has an upper hand there. However, the person might be so overwhelmed with his thought, yes, I have the upper hand, and might lose some basic understandings about the negotiation. He might have underrated this and say, oh, this is a cheap one. And then there is a gap for you to come in and fill. So understand exactly what is the minimum that you desire to get out of that negotiation when you have come out with a priority. Another way that I usually like to do is I understand where I think the person has an upper hand. And what I will do is I will play that first to the person, then allow the person win those particular parts that I believe the person has an upper hand with. Then I will play my own where I don't want to lose. Then it's based on those other ones that we will now focus really on the negotiation. So I can say, fine, I've left out X, Y, Z for you. but considering what I can deliver on this and this and this, I believe you can try me on this. So take these three, just give me this one. So know the minimum standard. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I think we have a question from Alafe Emmanuel. As an upcoming personality, how do you overcome the challenge of unpopularity? Since you have not had enough medium to showcase yourself, as we all know, people like to deal with people they already know. So I believe Mr. Boduride has already addressed this severally in the course of this discourse. He has kept on telling us that we need to always put in the work, because as we go, we will we'll build reputation if our work is good. I think additionally is the fact that while he was answering the question that Temi raised, as well as the contribution put by Joseph, you have a responsibility to build your network. You have a responsibility to put yourself out there. You cannot intend to build popularity or let people know who you are in your house or in your shell. So put your work out there and be consistent. And over time, the popularity that you desire will come as such. So it's not something you have suddenly, it's something you grow into. I believe
absolutely.
But did you have something else to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's very on point. What I just have to say is, I have a saying that I say to people and I say to myself. Sometimes it has a lot to do with mindset. If you wake up and you go out to a battle with the mindset of being defeated, you will come back defeated. You come back a defeated person. You must live every day like it's an opportunity to win. And winning is in stages, is in phases. First thing is to overcome your own fear. You must be acceptable to yourself. You must see yourself as confident. You must, that I sell to you and you don't buy into it is not the end of the world. I just need to go to the next stop. All right. You must do it until you get the outcome. So I think the watchword is you can't go to the battle with a defeated mind and come back a warrior. You make constant effort, you keep building yourself. Something that has worked for me is I take every deal, every disappointment, every opportunity that I do not or I don't close as it's even an advantage. I learn what went wrong. I dissect it, I ask myself questions. I learn more on why the company is going with that. I then have more understanding of what even the other company can do that my company cannot do. Sometimes it's not just to take product and go and sell. By the time you also bring feedback back to your company, to your management, they start putting value on you like somebody who wants them to grow. Mr. MD, sir, we lost this project because we didn't do A, B, C, and D. Very good, right-thinking MD will tell you that's a good feedback. Can we also start making research on how to be able to do this? So in the next place you go to compete, we have not started. And that's how complaints grow. And that's why you see most people, especially in IT, they do almost the same thing. Almost the same. You have 6 complaints competing for a project, and with the question, do it. It's like all these cars. It's like you have Toyota, Honda, Benz. Will you leave Akure to Lagos? Yes. Even Marua can go because he has engine to go. It now depends on how far you want to fly. It now depends on things like is that drive, that passion to win. That's what you're. So you live every day like it's a brand new day. It's an opportunity to win. And then at some point it will surely happen. So that's more like it for my hand.
On mute. Well, sorry about that. Joshua Kayode Nisi, if you're here, please ask your question. You're the last question we'll be taking for this session. If you're here, please ask your question.
Hello, good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon, Joshua.
Good afternoon, Mr. Oyebade. Thank you so much for the thoughts you've shared. My quick question: so, in your growing years, how were you able to manage relationships, as well as now that you sort of made an authority in your own area? How have you been able to also manage relationships at this stage? So it's split into two parts. In your growing years, how are you able to manage relationships? And now that you've attained the mentorship position, how have you been able to also manage relationships? Thank you once again.
Thank you very much for that, Joseph. I have this to say to you that managing relationship is way tougher and harder than even building a relationship. If you get to a good place now and you have a good interaction, or you engage intelligently, or there's a gift you have, you can attract anything to. Now, for me personally, and this has to do with sales, it has to do with passion for me. And there's a lot that goes, into all of this stuff. Like I said, it's not a day's journey. And we're all not still there yet. We keep building, we keep selling ourselves, our personality. But as a salesman, you don't have business. It also has to do with your temperament, your personality. You have to be real with yourself. Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? What are those things that you like to do? Where do you meet people? You don't meet people in your sitting room. You don't meet. There's a kind of business you do that you can't seal. In fact, I tell my team, or I tell people, most of those businesses, people must be able to see you. I must be able to. We should communicate before I can even start opening up to you. So as a salesman, you can't come to my office and present and you say you want to win a deal. There are things that efforts you must make. I must make concerted effort to know you individually. I must know where what are those things that interest you? What are those things that makes you happy? What's your kind of person? Are you the type that loves football? Is there a place you hang out? Are you the family type? And we can get all this information from different places. You get to meet people, you penetrate people. I think penetrate is the right word. It's gradual, but you do it. There are people who every time, they're the family type. They just want to be that kind of person. You start paying attention to it. They are the ones that wants to celebrate, church dedication, what have you. If you have time, you make time to that. You must sell. The people must buy into you as an individual. That's what you then start carrying all over to. You can work for 20 companies. Have you seen a president contest on a party today, tomorrow change the party, next day change party, and they're still voting for him? He's selling his party, he's not selling the party ticket for those that are into politics. Have you also seen football fans who, if Messi tomorrow leaves or Ronaldo should leave his club and they automatically become the new club member? They are into the person Ronaldo, not the club he plays for. And for Ronaldo it's your personality. So you need to really invest. That's more like your own social capital. You must be out there, and being out there is not to constitute nuisance. You must have value to complement people. You stay around for people for good reasons. You can't just be. If anybody needs police escort, you go right to the police station. It's not to just be looking around them. It's value. You must see what really interests them. How can you then affect or impact their life? What are those things that interest them? What are the things you can take away from them in terms of worry? If you're in IT sales and you're talking to a CTO who honestly does not even have his own life, today you want to go and meet him, he has one meeting, next tomorrow he has one link that is down. That kind of person, you don't want to be discussing with him, you want to come and greet him at home. No, you start looking at how can you help him solve the problem he has. I've never seen anybody who helps somebody resolve a problem who you are not a step closer to that person. And when people start getting that confidence in you, they start having the trust in you, They want to take decision. They know it's not even what you do, but they think you have something upstairs to offer. You have something deep. You have an understanding of, you are knowledgeable. You have something inside you. You've got substance. They will consult you. Once they consult you, the first time, the second time, you're able to convince them. You buy their trust. You buy their confidence. You buy their person. Before Jack, they start saying even what you don't say yourself. And then those are the relationships that you keep nurturing. You water it. And by watering, there's a lot we do. We're all, it's going. There's no particular way to nurture a relationship. To some people, it's being thoughtful. To some people, you just nurture it. And when you nurture it, to some, you don't even need to do business with everybody. To some, you just know them for mentorship. You don't know some people. You don't want to blow your last card. You just need some people who you need to keep for, they've got it up there. They know these things. So you also want to be nursing it. Some you also need to invest. You buy gifts. You sell yourself. Yes, this is what they like. They like to read. They like to. You buy them novels. Are the one that knows what you want to gain from them. They don't even need to be people that will give you business, but they have the grace to help conceptualize ideas. They have the grace to help resolve problems. They carry something. So it's something these are things you need to watch out for. And I think it's pertinent for everybody to have one or two of those people, in our personal lives. To some, they are lucky. It could be their siblings. To some, they are lucky. It could be outside family. To some, it could even be your brother, your spouse. To some, it could be their colleague at work. In fact, I have personally a guy who employed me when I joined Cisco. It's one of the guys I respect a lot in the industry. I've worked for 3 organizations after working for him. He's still one. He's just knowledgeable. He's open. I see him as my elder brother. He see me as a friend. Every day, every December, my wife and I, my family, we go to that guy to pay homage. Sometimes we don't go with anything. Sometimes a bottle of wine, sometimes a bag of rice. It's just so that tomorrow, if I need to call him, it's always there, because I have something to learn from him. And when you see all those people, sometimes they don't need to give you work. They might even put a word or a recommendation for you, and you just keep moving. So some people, relationship is a different topic entirely. And trust me, I think I should go on and on, because even the whole life and heaven is for relationship. To the Christian faithfuls or Muslim, even God created us to have fellowship or relationship with Him. Just the way we need to go to church, we praise Him, we celebrate, we thank Him. That's how people hold a relationship, and it's a continuous thing. So pretty much that's my answer to that. In terms of natural relationship,
Thank you so much. So that was so well. So well.
Okay.
Thank you, Boduride. We're really grateful. Thank you for your insightful and enlightening presentations and your answers to our questions. They were very insightful, and you have given us I would like to call them gems, right? That we can build our lives around and build successful careers around it as well. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the platform.
So basically, you're welcome, sir. So basically, this meetup was put together by Legal Hackers, and at this point, I'll be inviting Joseph Badru to speak to us about what Legal Hackers is. So, Joseph, you have the floor. Joseph.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Esther. So I'll just be sharing in 2-3 minutes what Legal Hackers is all about. So Legal Hackers is a legal innovation community. Its major aim is to foster innovation in technology and law and create a community of people that see the nexus between both, and that is technology and law. So and in doing that, we sort of like advocate for creative problem solving where law and tech is concerned. And obviously it's not just open to techies and lawyers. I guess everybody here is not just either a techie or a lawyer. So it's open to everybody who is interested in policy, in technology, and in law, and all the issues that surround those, and which is why we are talking about negotiation, because it affects any career path you choose in technology, in law, and even any other career path as well. So yeah, so it's an organization that started in 2012 in Brooklyn, New York. Its first event was called the Legal Hackathon at Brooklyn, and as of today, Legal Hackers has 168 chapters in 6 continents and over 30,000 plus members. So this particular event is organized by Abuja and Lagos Legal Hackers in collaboration. And so we usually have meetups either in Abuja or in Lagos. Right now, we're moving towards more virtual meetups because of the current global pandemic. Yeah, so a few things as to things Legal Hackers is not a commercial enterprise, it's not a trade association, it's not a political advocacy group, it's not a hacking group. So when some people hear the name Legal Hackers, I get the response that, are you guys hacking, like software hacking, like hacking people's private stuff and all of that? No, it's also not that. Hacking means to just solve problems. So it's around using technology, using innovation, and matters that relate to all these things to solve problems. So people who are lawyers, entrepreneurs, designers, academics, researchers, technologists, everybody's welcome. And anybody that has anything to do with policy is also welcome. So yeah, which other thing? So typically in our meetups, we do 3 things, either of these 3 things. One is we either have learning sessions like we just had today, where we actually take a subject and we learn about what that subject entails, or we have hack sessions, and that includes having meetups around hackathons, design sprints, policy hacks, bringing serious problems in a particular sector and seeing how and hacking those problems to find out how we can use law and technology to solve those problems. And then thirdly is we have discussions. So this particular session falls in between discussions and learning sessions. So yeah, so we'll be I'll leave that to Kelechi. She'll be letting us know the things that will be done post them. So we'd love you to subscribe. We'll have like a members forum that you can join. We have groups on different social media that you can also follow us on Twitter, on Instagram. It's just Abuja Legal Hackers or Legal Hackers Lagos. So you can follow us to know what else we are up to and the things that we are doing. Yeah. So I think I would, at this point, I'll hand over to Kelechi. She would let us know the things that we'll be getting after the event and also just help us wrap up from there. Thanks for joining, guys.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Okay, so this is Kelechi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Okay, so hi guys, thank you for joining in. I hope you had like a good time. I did. I learned like a lot. So moving forward from this, we'll be sending like a feedback form to everyone that has joined in. So we had like a lot of feedback where some people couldn't join in because of network issues or for one reason or the other. So we're going to send the recording of this meetup to everyone, and also we'll be compiling this meetup into an ebook, a negotiation survival kit, so to say. However, it is only going to be given or sent to those that fill our feedback form. So after this meetup, we'll be sending like a feedback form to your emails, right? So be on the lookout for it. And please help fill the feedback form. We want to know what you feel about this, how we can do better, what we can do to improve our content here. So yeah, help fill our feedback form, and then we'll be getting back to you with the recording of this meetup and also the compilation of this meetup into an ebook. And thanks again for joining in. Yeah, bye. Also, thank you, Mr. Oyebade. It was an awesome time listening to you. I am so excited to have I learned like a whole lot today. Thank you so much for your time.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody.
So thank you to our speaker. Thank you to every single participant for showing up and asking questions. You all made this session very engaging and we're glad to have you. So till next time, till another virtual meetup. This will be bye. Enjoy the rest of your day.